So we're back with another event. This one is called Encircling the Graf Spee, and the reward is the Graf Spee, which you get after completing SP3 a total of 60 times. Yes, that's right, 60 times. So you've got a limited time craft, where if you do heavy craft you can get her. But if you go into the maps, and there are 3, you can enact the Battle of the River Plate. So, we've got Ajax, we'll have Achilles, and we'll also have Exeter. As they were the 2 light cruisers and 1 heavy cruiser that encountered the pocket battleship, the Graf Spee, and forced her to harbour in Montevideo, where she eventually scuttled herself. On SP1, you have to defeat 4 nodes and then the boss will appear. There are a total of 6 nodes and the boss, and to clear the map you need to defeat the boss 3 times. The level of the regular nodes are level 37 and the boss level is level 40, and you will need to defeat 25 of the normal nodes if you are wanting the 3-star clear. The notable drops on this one are Z1 and Charles Osborne. One thing to note, I did go in with the wrong fleet, and so I did always want to do this with the proper Force G fleet, and that's Ajax, Achilles and Exeter. So I used them, and I used a couple of the ships from Force H, and that was Ark Royal and Renown, as Force H had been scrambled to join them after the initial battle. I'll be going into the history of the whole thing later on, but for now let's go into the battles and start up the music. So the boss here is Z1. Now, she doesn't really do anything special, and there's no actual reason for her to be here other than they needed a boss, because Graf Spee acted on her own as a commerce trader, so she was a lone hunter. So, in terms of being historically accurate, with all the other ships here, it's not accurate anyway, but in terms of having a boss here, it's one of those poetic license things. So she's just there for the sake of being there. Now I won't be showing off the rewards that you get when you defeat each map, because they're just still your basic Cuban coins, so there's no real point in showing those off. But I will show off the 3-star clearing rewards, as they're a little bit more interesting, and I'll be showing those off after each boss segments. So as I said, there's really nothing much to say about this whole battle, but on the last battle, the eagle-eyed viewers will probably notice that I did decide to upgrade Exeter and give her her refit. So Exeter Kai is in that fleet. I would have given Achilles her refit, but she's currently 3 levels short of it. So I am currently levelling her up so I can give her her Kai as soon as possible. So that does mean she's in the backyard, as well as in this fleet, repeatedly facing up against Graf Spee. Now we will be coming up to the boss fairly soon, but first I'll have to just clear this little bit. But once I've cleared this little bit and the boss spawns, as I said before, there's not exactly anything to talk about. Because if you watch the boss fight, she doesn't do anything special at all. Yes, she's got that wave attack. Yes, she does torpedoes. But we've seen that stuff before, and there's just nothing to it. It's like the cutscene. There's nothing to talk about. As I said, there's no historical accuracy here at all. So, what can I say? Pretty much nothing. So, just a case of a filler map, really. They needed something to go there, so they just put that there. Well, anyway, once you've cleared it, and if you get your 3-star clear, you can look at the rewards. And the rewards for the 3-star clear, a purple cruiser blueprint and some oil, so that's quite good. So we're jumping to SP2 here. Now, the first thing to mention is I did change my fleet up a bit. I used Force G with the latter Force H fleet and a Force H for my clearing fleet, and that's the Force H that went to join Force G. So here's now the cutscene, and I'll tell you what we can expect in the map. So the level of the normal nodes here are level 47, and the boss is level 50. You need to defeat 4 of the normal nodes if you're going to spawn the boss, and there are going to be 7 of the normal nodes as well as the boss, so that's 8 altogether. If you want the 3-star clear, you do need to defeat 30 of the normal nodes, and to spawn the next map, you do need to defeat the boss 4 times. The notable drops on this map are Helena and York. So, yet again, let's jump into the action and crank up some music. And here we are at the boss. Now we are going to be fighting against Graf Spee. The interesting thing to note here is once you actually get her down to a certain percent of her health, she does run away. Obviously this is sort of accurate, but it also isn't, because the British fleet that had engaged her decided that they were unable to do anything during day action, so they pulled back. Exeter had disengaged totally, and the 2 remaining ships decided that a night action would be best, and during that time the Graf Spee entered the port of Montevideo. Now the fun thing here is you can get her into the red. I've done it a couple of times, but to actually destroy her I found it almost impossible. I tried a few different ways to do it, but there are quite a few problems in actually destroying her. Because what generally tends to happen is, once she's got down to a certain point of health, she runs away at that point, which means you'll tend to find her fleeing when she's still got a good bit of health. So getting her into the red is tricky in the first place. Getting her all the way destroyed, I'm not sure if it's possible, but one of the best ways to try could be to use, say, arc coil, have her with swordfish, and see if the slowing effect will actually then slow her down. However, I'm thinking that they might have actually put something on the mechanics to actually stop that from happening. I just have to play around and see whether that's possible, but they may have forgotten to do that, and if that has been done, then those torpedoes will eventually hit her and things, because that's generally what I've found is the problem. She'll get into the red, and you can launch all your torpedoes at her, and she's fleeing, and the torpedoes are closely following behind her, but not quite catching up to her. But the way it's set up, we're not supposed to be killing her at this stage. I just think it'd be funny if you actually could. Now, she does have 3 attacks. The first one comes out as a semicircle in front of her, and it's a giant arcing attack using HE shells, and the further away you are from her, the easier it is to dodge. The second attack she does is using armor piercing, and those are in a straight line, and that's less frequent, and again fairly easy to dodge because again it's just shooting out in a straight line, so you just try and weave out of it. The third attack she does is that she does a barrage with the armor piercing, and that goes for your back line, so your main fleet's going to get hit, and there's nothing you can do to dodge that one. So the 3-star clearing reward again is the cruiser blueprint and some fuel. So yeah. So now it's time for the third and final map, SB3. As you can see on the screen, we are now going to be entering the port of Montevideo. So what we're going to see here is Ajax and Achilles. Exeter won't be with them because in real life she got badly damaged and had to leave to go to the Falklands, and they were actually joined by the Cumberland, but as Cumberland isn't in the game, she's not actually in this scene. This time the enemy fleets are level 55 and the boss is level 60. You have to defeat 5 normal nodes to spawn the boss. There are a total of 8 normal nodes as well as the boss, so that's 9 altogether. And you do have to get 35 normal nodes if you want the 3-star clear. And you have to defeat the boss 5 times to clear the map. The notable drops this time round are London and Exeter. As I said at the start, you do need to defeat this boss 60 times if you do want to get Graf Spee through the quest. Anyway, let's get on with the map. So here we are on the boss. Now it's important to note that we do have a new mechanic here. Like in the last event, on the latter maps where we saw the little boss timer, We do see that appear on Graf Spee. However, unlike the last one where it let you know that they were charging up an attack to hit you with Graf Spee it means that she's preparing to self-destruct. So she is preparing to scuttle. What this means for you is that once you see it, if you don't destroy her before that time, she's going to deny you either your S rank, or if you've gone over the 2 minutes to kill her within, and you now within 1 minute or less, you're going to be denied your A rank. So that means that your S rank would then become an A rank, and your A rank would become a B rank. Now the key thing to note about this scuttling is it'll only trigger when you get her below a certain point in her health. So keep an eye out for it, save some hard hitting attacks, and then burn her down quickly. Otherwise she will rob you of your rank. I have intentionally got some footage of her doing this attack so you can see what happens when it happens. The rest of her attacks are the same as before, the only thing is that she doesn't run away this time. So here's a random fun fact. For those people that know me, this is perhaps my favourite event in the entire game now, because I really enjoy this battle. Historically, it's one of the battles that has interested me the most, and as soon as I saw that Achilles, Ajax and Exeter were in this game, I just knew that I had to level these ships and maybe put them into a fleet together. At the time, Achilles didn't have her refit, so it wasn't really practical leveling her up and giving her a place in a fleet. But now she's got a refit, I can actually put her in a fleet, and then with this event being launched, it's a dream come true to be able to just reenact the Battle of River Plate using this fleet. Because growing up, I did watch the film The Battle of the River Plate quite a few times, and it's really good film, and I do highly recommend that people watch it. For one thing, it does include Achilles playing herself. I'm also really happy that we get to have the Admiral Graf Spee in the game, because she's the one ship that was respected the most by the British Navy, because her captain, Captain Lansdorff, was a real humanitarian, and he treated his prisoners really well, so much so that they had a huge respect for him and gave him nothing but praise and admiration for his entire behaviour. He actually went out of his way to make sure that when he came across merchant shipping, that he would issue an order to surrender and make sure that he would get the crew off the ship alive before sinking that ship. Other commerce raiders would just simply sink the ship with all hands on board. He risked his ship to make sure that everybody was saved, and during that entire time, not a single life was lost. He also had plenty of opportunities to sink Exeter, but he didn't take them because he didn't see the point of sinking her with all hands on board, because he thought it was a huge waste of life. Anyway, we'll pause the chat and look at the rewards. As you can see, we do get the Gold Cruiser blueprint. We also get the 11-inch triple turret, which is associated with the Deutschland class. So once you've done all that, all that's left is just to defeat the boss 60 times, which isn't a great task, but it is a little bit tedious. So anyway, that's the event. And well, back to the history of it. So how did the Battle of the River Plate start? Well, simply put, the Admiral Graf Spee got some plans for some shipping routes, and using that, it decided that there was a convoy staging area near the River Plate. So it went there to intercept some convoys and maybe take on some British destroyers. Upon getting there, the fleet of Force G was approaching, which was Howard's force with Achilles, Ajax and Exeter, and the Graf Spee misidentified them as being destroyers, so he went to intercept them. Upon realizing that they were light cruisers and a heavy cruiser, it was a bit too late. He engaged them and he badly damaged the Exeter, he damaged Ajax, and did some light damage to Achilles. They fired upon the Graf Spee and thought that they did very little damage at all, and for that reason they were very surprised when she went into the port of Montevideo. It turned out that they had actually done more damage to his ship than they had suspected, and it was critical damage that meant that he wouldn't be able to return back to a home port in Germany. It also meant that after this battle he'd used up so much ammunition that he couldn't survive another encounter against a British fleet. He had about 20 minutes of ammunition left. The Exeter had left the fleet and the Cumberland had joined them, and she had a full supply of ammunition. So Graf Spee was in a bad state. The British had sent a whole load of disinformation out to say that Force H had already joined up with Force G. So that was Ark Royal, Renown, as well as the two heavy cruisers, Shropshire and Dorsetshire, and the light cruiser Neptune, which was another Leander-class cruiser. Believing he was going to be facing a superior fleet, Langsdorff asked what he should be doing, and he was given very little information. All he was told was, you cannot let this ship become interred. As he'd been given such vague and unhelpful instructions, Langsdorff realised that the only decision laid with him. So he could go out and face what was probably a superior fleet, in which case he would not just lose his ship, but the lives of his men. Or he could do the only thing that was left to him, which was to protect the lives of his men and destroy his ship. Obviously, Langsdorff being the man that he was, he chose the latter. This gained him even more respect through the people that knew him. And of course it lost him the respect of the people of Germany, as well as his Führer. So Langsdorff is one of those people that was highly respected by his enemies, but not by his own country or his own leader. He would commit suicide a few days later. So that's the story of the Admiral Graf Spee and the Battle of the River Plate. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye for now.